Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurumilitanyana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I feel a little bit embarrassed and nervous because actually what I learned about how to invite a good soul, mainly I learned it from Ananda Tirtha Prabhu and his wife. I didn't realize they were going to speak before me. And I'm sitting in front of Pancharanda Prabhu and Atita Guna Mataji. They are very experienced grihastas. And so, but one thing I've come across over the last maybe 3 or 4 years is to realize that how the perspective on conception of children in the Vedic culture, that it's not something that takes place accidentally, or because we have even the idea that, okay, we have some sex desires, so okay, let's have a child, but actually is a whole offering of love. It's a whole preparation. It's a whole science. Prabhupada explains in his purports that we should study the science of how to bring Vaikuntha children, like in the letter that we read, and also how to invite. It describes that there are 2 types of souls we can invite, and one of them is like a ray of Vishnu, who comes actually to do good to the world and to do good to the family who conceive them. And in order to prepare for this, it's not just that at the time of conception we chant 50 rounds, like is commonly the word is thing, but actually the principle behind it is that we have to fix our consciousness on Krishna, and not only fix our consciousness on Krishna alone, but with our partner. And that's perhaps the most difficult thing, particularly at the time of conception, where we can become overcome by the mode of passion, even the mode of ignorance. But actually, to cultivate that desire to invite a soul and to create the most optimum environment, so that at the time of conception, that soul comes. We can invite a soul who is divine, a soul who has like all good qualities. Like His Holiness Chivaran Swami was speaking about the importance of samskaras, and also Ananda Tirtha Prabhu. And the principle behind these samskaras is that we have impressions within our minds, and according to those impressions that we carry them for lifetimes, that determines how we perceive the world, what we choose, what we like. So, in order to invite a soul, and also to facilitate that soul's purification, that soul's protection, that soul actually gets Krishna's mercy, we should be, like as I said before, we should have the best consciousness. And how do we create the best consciousness? It's not just at the night of conception. It's a whole preparation. And it requires, like it describes in the scriptures, that we perform tapasya, we perform austerity, we perform sacrifice. But what is that tapasya and what is that sacrifice for us? We're devotees. We're not going to meditate. We're in Kali Yuga. We're not going to meditate for 10,000 years, like in some of the examples in the scriptures. That means that we have to actually read the scriptures together. We have to do devotional service together. We have to become accustomed to be with each other, to tolerate each other, to not have any fights. Already, just even from the beginning, even before the conception, this process of bringing a child, of actually raising children, is bringing us purification. Mataji was explaining that, it's helping so much to be more Krishna conscious, because, when you have children, you have to become exemplary for them. But even before the conception, we have to raise our level of consciousness, so that soul, that Krishna actually trusts us and send that person to us. So therefore, it is very, very important that husband and wives develop a very harmonious relationship. Even according to Ayurveda, this is described that the relationship between husband and wife must be very good. And also it is described that, like, very, very important aspect, which is what I'm liking more of this program, is that we actually have to want the children. We have to actually really want to have the children. Now, it says, according to Ayurveda, that even if at the, any time during the pregnancy, the mother thinks negatively about having a child, that will have an effect on the child's consciousness, on the child's mind. So it's a whole preparation. It's like we have to, they say we have to, in order to go back home, back to Godhead, we have to remember Krishna at the time of death. And it's silly to expect that, we don't have to do anything, and just at the time of death we're going to think of Krishna. So similarly, if we want to conceive a child, it will be silly to think that we just have to chant 50 rounds at the time of conception, and that's going to be everything. It's actually the consciousness behind. That is a mood of prayer between husband and wife. It's a mood of actually compassion for that living entity. To facilitate that soul gets the best situation and to serve Krishna. Ultimate purpose of samskara is to actually free the mind, to create the best mental state, so that we can serve Krishna nicely. And along with the Garbhadana samskar, there are so many other samskars. I highly recommend the course that Ananda Tirtha Prabhu is offering at the Mayapur Academy, where so many different samskaras are there to facilitate the future Krishna consciousness of that soul. But as Mataji was requesting me to speak about the importance, that we realize the importance of preparing our consciousness to invite a soul through like a year, 6 months, up until the point that we actually really want the child. That there is no like a holding back. That we are actually prepared to do everything for that child. That we're totally integrated with our partner. That and that, because it's described actually in the Bhagavatam that where is the soul born from? It's not born from the semen. Actually, the soul is born from the heart of the person. The heart of the consciousness of the person produces a semen that takes a form according to that consciousness. It's the consciousness. It's the heart of the person. So what a responsibility to do this conception, this Garbhadana samskar properly. Yeah. And it's a culture which is really need to be established within ISKCON. Not just 50 rounds, but actually to prepare, to realize the responsibility of actually producing Vaikuntha children. And going back to the quote that Devaki Mataji was offering at the beginning of the program, that this is one of the perhaps most important services. In fact, the Bhagavatam says it's the highest responsibility of Grihastha couples to inject Krishna consciousness within the heart of their progeny. And this begins by the process of Garbhadana samskar. Prabhupada explains that it's the highest service to inject this Krishna consciousness. So to learn this science will bring a great benefit, not just for the soul who is coming, also for ourselves, for society at large, for ISKCON, And it is described that in traditional Vedic families, I think Shivaran Swami was speaking about this, that they have records that go back like 7 generations about having performed this Garbhadana Samskar. So we perform it, our descendants perform it, and it becomes more and more pure. They become more and more powerful. And then the whole society can be changed. Prabhupada refers to this, he emphasizes this in the purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly. How actually we can change the face of the world by creating a Krishna conscious progeny. So I will like to stop here. Lokanath Maharaj is here also to speak, and the Bhaktimati asked me to speak briefly. And just to conclude, that to realize the importance of bringing Krishna conscious children to the world, that is the greatest service, is the greatest act of creation. The most creative thing that we can do is to actually conceive a child, and that requires a full commitment and full commitment to the relationship between husband and wife, to be very, very Krishna conscious. By reading the scriptures together, by doing devotional service together, so that same consciousness can prevail the minds of both the partners at the time of conception. The same devotional consciousness to invite a soul into the family. Hare Krishna.